I want to tell you a story that happened to me. My name is Katie. I want to tell you something that happened to me 5 years ago. The conference room was packed with tension. Everyone sat around the polished mahogany table, trying to look engaged, while our department head, Jennifer, shuffled through her notes. The quarterly review meeting was supposed to be routine, but I could feel something different in the air. For the past 3 years, I had been the backbone of our marketing department, staying late to meet impossible deadlines, training new hires, and consistently delivering results that exceeded expectations. Jennifer had been dropping hints for weeks about a big announcement coming, something about recognizing exceptional performance and leadership potential. I had poured everything into this job. When other people complained about overtime, I stayed without being asked. When budgets got tight and we couldn't hire additional staff, I picked up the slack. I mentored Sarah, the new graphic designer, even though teaching wasn't in my job description. I created the campaign strategy that increased our client retention by 40%. Jennifer had pulled me aside just last month, saying, "Katie, you're exactly the kind of person we need in leadership. Your dedication doesn't go unnoticed." Today was supposed to be my day. I had imagined this moment countless times. The recognition, the promotion to marketing director, the validation that my 3 years of sacrifice had meant something. I straightened my blazer and glanced around. The room, my colleagues looked relaxed, chatting quietly about weekend plans. At the head of the table, Jennifer stood up, tapping her pen against her coffee mug to get everyone's attention. "I want to take a moment to recognize someone who has shown exceptional leadership and innovation," she began, her voice carrying across the room. "Someone who has brought fresh perspectives and impressive results in a remarkably short time." My heart started racing. This was it. In just 6 months with our company, this person has revolutionized our social media strategy and brought in 3 major accounts. 6 months, my smile faltered. I had been here for 3 years. Jennifer turned toward the corner of the room where Alex, our newest hire, was sitting. "Alex, you've exceeded every expectation we had. Your creativity, your strategic thinking, and your ability to connect with clients has been remarkable, which is why I'm thrilled to announce your promotion to marketing director." The room erupted in applause. I sat frozen, my hands clenched in my lap. My throat felt tight as I forced myself to smile and clap along with everyone else. Alex stood up, looking genuinely surprised and grateful, accepting congratulations from our colleagues. This couldn't be happening. I felt the room spinning slightly as Jennifer's eyes found mine across the table. "And of course, Katie," she said with a bright smile, "you've been such a steady presence on our team. We really appreciate your reliability." That was it. Reliability. After 3 years of going above and beyond, I was reliable. Like a printer that always works, or a coffee machine that never breaks down. I cleared my throat and lifted my water glass. "Congratulations, Alex. You absolutely deserve this opportunity." The words felt like glass in my mouth, but I said them anyway. Jennifer nodded approvingly. "See, this is exactly what I mean about your professionalism, Katie. You're such a team player." A team player. I had heard that phrase before, and I was starting to understand what it really meant. It meant someone who did the work so other people could get the credit. It meant someone who was too valuable in their current role to promote. It meant someone who would smile and congratulate their replacement while dying inside. The meeting continued for another 20 minutes, but I barely heard any of it. When it finally ended, I walked calmly to my desk, sat down, and opened my laptop. My hands were surprisingly steady as I composed an email to HR with the subject line, "Resignation notice, effective 2 weeks." But I didn't send it, not yet. Instead, I closed my laptop and sat back in my chair, thinking. I had spent 3 years building relationships, understanding this company's processes, and developing expertise that would be valuable anywhere. If Jennifer couldn't see my worth, someone else would. That evening, I updated my LinkedIn profile and started reaching out to my network. Within 48 hours, I had 3 interview requests. One was from David Martinez, the CEO of a startup called Breakthrough Marketing. I had met him at a conference 2 years ago, and we had stayed in touch casually. "Katie," he said when I called him back, "I've been following your work from afar. The campaign you did for the Peterson account was brilliant. I'm building a team here, and I need someone who can lead our marketing strategy from the ground up. Are you happy where you are?" I paused. A week ago, I would have said yes automatically. Now, I said, "Actually, I think I'm ready for a new challenge. The interview process was unlike anything I had experienced. David and his team asked about my ideas, my vision, my leadership style. They wanted to know what I would do differently, what risks I would take, how I would build a department from scratch. For the first time in years, I felt like someone was seeing me, not just my ability to follow orders or be reliable, but my potential to lead. 2 weeks later, I walked into Jennifer's office with my resignation letter. She looked up from her computer with surprise. "Katie, what's this about?" "I'm giving my 2 weeks notice," I said calmly. "I've accepted a position as Director of Marketing at Breakthrough Marketing." Her face went through several expressions: confusion, disbelief, then something that looked like panic. "Katie, this is so sudden. We never discussed this. I had no idea you were unhappy." "We never discussed a lot of things," I replied evenly. "Look, I know you might have been disappointed about the promotion, but Alex was just the right fit for what we needed right now. That doesn't mean there aren't other opportunities coming up for you." I sat back in my chair. "What opportunities, Jennifer?" She fumbled for words. "Well, there's talk of expanding the digital marketing team. You could lead that initiative." "You mean the initiative that Alex will now oversee as marketing director?" "Katie, be reasonable. You're making an emotional decision. You've been here for 3 years. This is your home." I stood up and smoothed my skirt. "You're right, Jennifer. I have been here for 3 years, but this was never my home. It was just a place where I worked hard and got taken for granted. My home is wherever my contributions are valued." "What's your salary at this new place?" she asked desperately. "We can match it. We can work something out." I paused at the door. "It's not about the money, Jennifer. It's about respect. And respect isn't something you can match after the fact." The next morning, I cleaned out my desk while my colleagues watched in shock. Sarah, the graphic designer I had mentored, came over with tears in her eyes. "Katie, I can't believe you're leaving. What am I going to do without you?" "You're going to be amazing," I told her. "And you're going to remember that your worth isn't determined by whether other people recognize it." Alex approached me hesitantly. "Katie, I hope there are no hard feelings. I never meant for things to happen this way." I looked at him, young, talented, ambitious. A few months ago, that had been me. "Alex, you didn't do anything wrong. You took an opportunity that was offered to you. I'm just doing the same thing." As I carried my box of personal items to the elevator, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years: excitement. I wasn't just leaving a job, I was walking towards something better. The elevator doors closed, and I saw my reflection in the polished metal. I looked different, more confident, more alive. My first day at Breakthrough Marketing was everything I had hoped for and more. The office was smaller, the budget was tighter, but the energy was electric. David introduced me to the team as the person who's going to help us revolutionize how we think about marketing. Not reliable Katie, not the team player, the person who is going to make things happen. Within 6 months, I had built a department of 5 people, launched 3 successful campaigns, and helped the company secure its first major corporate client. The work was challenging, the hours were long, but every day I felt like I was building something meaningful. The best part was the trust. When I proposed a risky new strategy, David didn't dismiss it or give it to someone else to implement. He asked thoughtful questions, offered support, and let me run with it. When I succeeded, he made sure everyone knew it was my victory. When I failed, he helped me learn from it and try again. One afternoon, about 8 months after I had started, David knocked on my office door. "Katie, I have some news. We just got the Johnson Industries account. It's our biggest client ever, and they specifically requested you to lead the campaign. They said they were impressed by your work on the Morrison project." I felt a surge of pride and satisfaction. This was what it felt like to be valued. This was what it felt like to be seen. "There's more," David continued. "The board has approved a new position, VP of Marketing. It comes with a significant salary increase, equity in the company, and the budget to expand your team. I can't think of anyone better suited for it." I stared at him for a moment, remembering a similar conversation in Jennifer's office all those months ago. But this time, it felt different. This time, it felt earned. "David," I said, "I have to ask, why me? Why did you take a chance on someone who was just a team player at her last job?" He smiled. "Because I could see what you were capable of, even if your last boss couldn't. Sometimes the best people are the ones who've been underestimated." They have the most to prove and the most to give. 6 months later, I was browsing LinkedIn when I saw an update from my old company. Alex had left for another position. The company was looking for a new marketing director. I noticed that 3 other people from my former team had also moved on to new jobs. I closed the laptop and looked around my office, my real office, with floor-to-ceiling windows and a team of talented people who looked to me for guidance. I had built something here, something that mattered. My phone buzzed with a text from Sarah, my former mentee Katie. I just wanted to thank you again. I followed your advice and applied for a creative director position at another agency. I got it. You were right. Our worth isn't determined by whether other people recognize it. We have to recognize it ourselves and act accordingly. I smiled and typed back, "Congratulations, I'm so proud of you. Remember, the best opportunities often come when we're brave enough to bet on ourselves." That night, as I was getting ready to leave the office, I thought about the person I used to be, the one who stayed late hoping someone would notice, who took on extra work believing it would lead to recognition, who smiled and said congratulations when someone else got the promotion I deserved. I wasn't angry at that person anymore. She had done what she thought was right with the information she had. But I was grateful I had learned to see my own value before it was too late. Sometimes the most important lesson isn't about working harder or being more reliable. Sometimes it's about knowing when to walk away and find people who already see what you're worth. A year later, I was in the middle of a strategy meeting when my assistant knocked on the conference room door. "Katie, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you have an urgent call. It's Jennifer from your previous company." I excused myself and took the call in my office, curious about what could possibly be so urgent. Jennifer's voice sounded strained when I answered. "Katie, I hope you're doing well. I'll cut right to the chase. We're in trouble. The Peterson account dropped us last month, and 2 other major clients have indicated they're not renewing their contracts. The board is asking questions, and honestly, we need help." I leaned back in my chair, processing this information. "I'm sorry to hear that, Jennifer. What exactly are you asking me?" "We'd like to bring you back as marketing director. Full authority over the department, significant salary increase, and complete creative control. The board has approved whatever it takes to get you back." I was quiet for a long moment. The irony wasn't lost on me. A year ago, I would have done anything for this offer. Now, it felt like too little, too late. "Jennifer, I appreciate the offer, but I'm happy where I am. I've built something here that I'm proud of. Katie, please, think about it. This is your chance to come back and fix everything. You know this company better than anyone. You could turn things around. Fix everything," I repeated. "Jennifer, I wasn't the one who broke it. I was the one who was keeping it together, and you didn't realize it until after I left." There was a pause on the other end of the line. "You're right," she said quietly. "I made mistakes. We all did. But this is your chance to lead, really lead. Isn't that what you always wanted?" I stood up and walked to my window, looking out at the city skyline. What I wanted was to be valued for my contributions. What I wanted was to be seen as more than just reliable. I have that now, Jennifer. I don't need to go backward to find it. So that's it. You won't even consider it. "I'll consider it," I said, "but my answer is no. Good luck with everything, Jennifer. I genuinely mean that." After I hung up, I sat in my office for a few minutes, reflecting on how different I felt compared to a year ago. The old Katie might have been tempted by the offer, might have seen it as validation. The new Katie understood that real validation doesn't come from being rescued by people who failed to see your worth the first time. David knocked on my door a few minutes later. "Everything okay? You looked serious during that call." I told him about Jennifer's offer, and he listened thoughtfully. When I finished, he smiled. "You know, Katie, I'm not surprised they want you back, but I am proud of how you handled it. A year ago, you might have been tempted. A year ago, I would have said yes immediately," I admitted. "But I've learned something important. You can't build a future on other people's regrets." Speaking of the future, David said, "I have some news. The board has approved our expansion plans. We're opening offices in 2 new cities, and we need someone to oversee the entire operation. The position comes with a VP title, equity, and the opportunity to build something from the ground up." Interested, I looked at him. This man who had seen my potential when I couldn't see it myself, who had given me the chance to prove what I was capable of. "When do we start?" 3 months later. I was standing in the lobby of our new Chicago office, watching my team set up for our first client presentation. Sarah had followed me to the new company and was now my creative director. We had hired 6 new employees, all hungry and talented, all ready to build something meaningful. My phone buzzed with a LinkedIn notification. Jennifer had updated her status, excited to announce my new role as marketing consultant. Looking forward to helping companies develop their marketing strategies. I smiled and closed the app. Some people learn to value talent before it walks away. Others learn after it's too late. But the most important lesson I had learned was this: you can't wait for other people to see your worth. You have to see it yourself, and then find the courage to bet on it. As I watched my team preparing for the presentation, I thought about all the people who were still sitting in conference rooms, waiting for someone else to recognize their contributions. I made a mental note to reach out to them, to let them know that sometimes the best thing you can do is bet on yourself. The presentation went perfectly. As we were packing up, one of our new clients approached me. "Katie, that was incredible. Your team's energy is infectious. How did you build such a strong culture so quickly?" I thought about the answer for a moment. I hired people who were undervalued somewhere else and gave them the chance to prove what they were capable of. When you treat talented people with respect, they'll move mountains for you. He nodded thoughtfully. That's the kind of leadership our company needs. Are you available for a consulting project? As I handed him my business card, I realized something profound had shifted. I was no longer someone hoping to be seen. I was someone other people wanted to learn from. The transformation was complete. That night, I sent a message to my old team members who were still at the company. If you ever want to talk about new opportunities, I'm here. Sometimes the best move is the one that scares you the most. Within a week, 3 of them had reached out. The cycle was beginning again, but this time, I was the one offering the lifeline. There's something beautiful about that, taking the help you wished you had received and passing it on to someone else who needs it. Success, I had learned, isn't just about climbing the ladder. It's about building one for the people coming behind you.